What you are about to hear is not a prediction, and it is not magic. It is not something to believe in blindly, but something to observe carefully. The last digit of your birth year, just a single number. And yet, if you allow yourself to look deeper, it may reveal more than you expect. Not about your fate, but about your nature. In many Eastern traditions, especially those that walk hand in hand with Buddhist wisdom, numbers are not seen as random. They are seen as vibrations, as symbols. Just as a bell rings with a certain tone, each number carries a frequency, a pattern, a story. When we consider the last digit of the year we entered this world, we are not searching for destiny. We are searching for understanding. This digit is linked in subtle and ancient ways to the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These elements are not external forces alone. They live within us, in the way we think, in the way we speak, in the way we breathe. Each element holds a mirror to a part of our being. Perhaps your last digit is 0 or 1. This resonates with metal, strength, structure, clarity, but also rigidity and sorrow. Are you someone who holds on too tightly, or someone who seeks truth with sharp precision? Maybe it is 2 or 3, water, fluid, deep and wise, but prone to fear and hesitation. Do you flow through life, or are you drowning in thoughts? A 4 or 5, wood, growth, ambition, movement, and yet easily frustrated. Do you push forward without pausing, or are your roots strong enough to hold you steady? A 6 or 7, fire, passion, transformation, light, but also restlessness and burnout. What ignites your spirit, and do you know when to let the fire settle? An 8 or 9, earth, stability, nourishment, care. But sometimes overthinking and worry. Are you grounded, or are you stuck in the soil of your own mind? It may sound surprising, shocking even, that a single digit could carry such weight. But the real surprise is not the number itself. It is how deeply we have forgotten to look within. We are so busy chasing answers in the world, we overlook the signs that were always present, in our breath, in our habits, in the very moment we were born. This is not about superstition. This is about observation, about turning inward and asking, how am I living? What element am I feeding? And what element within me needs care? Wisdom is not in the number. It is in what the number points to. A path back to balance. A reminder to live not in extremes, but in harmony. So take this reflection not as a verdict, but as an invitation to observe, to understand, and above all, to awaken. What you are about to hear is not a prediction, and it is not magic. It is not something to believe in blindly, but something to observe carefully. The last digit of your birth year. Just a single number. And yet, if you allow yourself to look deeper, it may reveal more than you expect, not about your fate, but about your nature. In many Eastern traditions, especially those that walk hand in hand with Buddhist wisdom, numbers are not seen as random. They are seen as vibrations, as symbols. Just as a bell rings with a certain tone, each number carries a frequency, a pattern, a story. When we consider the last digit of the year we entered this world, we are not searching for destiny. We are searching for understanding. The universe, as well as the mind, moves in cycles. There is a rhythm behind the appearance of chaos, and numbers are part of that rhythm. This digit is linked in subtle and ancient ways to the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These elements are not only found in the outside world, they live within us, in the way we think, in the way we speak, in the way we breathe and relate to one another. Each element reflects a particular quality of mind, a specific type of energy, and a unique path to balance. When we speak about elements, we are speaking about tendencies, not fixed identities, but inclinations. And when we understand our tendencies, we can begin to soften them, transform them, grow beyond them. Perhaps your last digit is 0 or 1. This resonates with metal, strength, structure, discipline. There is clarity in your thinking and often a directness in your actions. But where there is structure, there can also be rigidity. In clinging too tightly to ideals or expectations, sorrow may take root. Ask yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer serves me? If it is 2 or 3, it connects to water, fluidity, introspection, depth. You may be someone who feels things deeply, who sees beneath the surface of situations. But water also carries fear, the hesitation to move, the uncertainty of direction. Are you flowing with life, or are you frozen by your thoughts? A 4 or 5 belongs to wood, growth, expansion, ambition. Like a tree stretching toward the sun, this energy wants to rise. You may have great vision, great drive, but wood, when blocked, becomes frustrated. Anger grows where progress feels stifled. Are your roots deep enough to support your reach? A 6 or 7 echoes fire, passion, warmth, charisma. There is a light in you that seeks expression, joy, creativity, transformation. But fire burns, it can overheat, it can burn out. Are you managing your energy, or are you exhausting your spirit in trying to shine too brightly? An 8 or 9 brings the earth element, stability, support, compassion. You may be the one others turn to, someone who holds space, who grounds the room. But earth can become heavy, overthinking, worry, clinging to the familiar. Are you grounded, or are you stuck? Now you may say, how can a single number say all this? But remember, the number is not the teaching. It is the mirror. It invites us to see what is already there. The real shock is not in what the number tells you. It is in how much of your life has been shaped by unconscious patterns, by unnoticed tendencies. The real shock is the realization that you've always had the power to observe yourself clearly, but perhaps you've never been taught how. So this is not superstition. This is not belief. This is practice. This is the way of the inner path, and on this path, even the smallest sign can be a doorway. If you choose to walk through it, you may discover not something mystical, but something simple. How to live with more awareness, how to choose more wisely, how to return to harmony when life feels unbalanced. Let the number be a reminder, not of who you are, but of what you can become when you begin to see clearly. Use it not to label yourself, but to learn yourself. Because true wisdom is not hidden, it is waiting, in every breath, in every moment, and sometimes, even in the last digit of your birth year. What you are about to hear is not a prediction, and it is not magic. It is not something to believe in blindly, but something to observe carefully. The last digit of your birth year, just a single number. And yet, if you allow yourself to look deeper, it may reveal more than you expect. Not about your fate, but about your nature. In a world that is constantly seeking external answers, we often overlook the subtle signs that point us inward. This number is not a fortune, it is a reflection, not a prophecy, but a mirror. Buddhist wisdom does not dwell in superstition, it encourages awareness. It does not seek to impress you with the unknown, but to awaken you to what you've already ignored. The last digit of your birth year is not significant because of what it can predict, but because of what it can invite you to notice. We often think of time in terms of dates, calendars, deadlines. But time, in spiritual traditions, is also symbolic. It marks not just what is happening outside, but what is happening within. To reflect on this one digit is to ask yourself, what is the energy I carry? What pattern seems to repeat in my life? Not because of the world, but because of me. It is easy to say, this is just coincidence. But if you take the number as a tool for reflection, not definition, then a deeper truth begins to emerge. Just as water reflects the face, contemplation reflects the soul. Each number resonates with a certain quality, a certain elemental energy. That energy is not foreign to you. It is already shaping how you move through the world. But if you've never looked, how can you be aware of it? And if you are not aware of it, how can you ever change it? This single digit becomes a doorway, not to mysticism, but to mindfulness, a chance to pause and ask, what is it that drives me? Where do I feel resistance? What emotion surfaces most often in my quiet moments? Perhaps you are someone who holds on too tightly to structure, or someone who flows too loosely with no direction. Perhaps you burn with passion, but have forgotten how to rest. Or perhaps you give endlessly to others, but have lost your own center. The shock does not lie in the number. The shock lies in the realization that your tendencies have been quietly shaping your life while you were busy looking elsewhere. It is not the digit that changes your life, it is the awareness it can trigger if you let it. That is the beginning of transformation. When you look at something ordinary and for the first time you truly see, this is the way of the mindful path. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is too small. Everything, even a single number, can be used as a point of entry into deeper reflection. The breath is always with you. So is your birth year. So is the last digit. All of them are reminders that life is not random, but rhythmic. That growth does not come from seeking more information, but from cultivating deeper understanding. So don't ask what the number means. Ask what it reveals. Don't seek to label yourself. Seek to observe yourself. The more you look with honesty, the more you will see. And what you see, you can work with. That is the true gift of self-reflection. That is where stillness becomes strength. That is where knowledge becomes wisdom. What you are about to hear is not a prediction, and it is not magic. It is not something to believe in blindly, but something to observe carefully. The last digit of your birth year, just a single number. And yet, if you allow yourself to look deeper, it may reveal more than you expect. Not about your fate, but about your nature. This number is not a trick, nor is it a mystical calculation. It is a quiet key, waiting to open something you may have never thought to examine: your inner landscape. Because in the teachings that emerge from Buddhist wisdom and its neighboring philosophies, nothing is truly random. The year you were born, the moment you took your first breath, and yes, even the final digit of that year, all of these are not accidents. They are subtle imprints in the flow of time and energy. The last digit of your birth year can be traced back to one of the 5 elements, a concept from Eastern philosophy known as Wu-Xing. These 5 elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. They are not just substances in nature, they are living qualities, processes, count energies. And these energies are not confined to the outside world. They move within you, shaping the way you think, feel, act, and respond to life. Your habits, your reactions, your preferences, your challenges, they often reflect the energy of the element that most deeply resonates within you. Count. The connection between numbers and these elements is not designed to limit you or box you in. It is meant to help you see more clearly the invisible threads that are already there. If your birth year ends in 0 or 1, you are aligned with metal. This element carries qualities of precision, order, clarity, and righteousness. You may find yourself drawn to structure, to doing things properly, to seeking perfection. But metal also has a shadow: rigidity, grief, difficulty letting go. Like a sword, metal can be sharp, focused, but also cutting. Ask yourself, in my life, am I holding too tightly to control? Am I clinging to a sense of how things should be, rather than how they are? If your birth year ends in 2 or 3, your element is water. This is the energy of stillness, reflection, depth, and wisdom. You may be introspective, intuitive, gentle. Water flows, it adapts, but it can also hide, it can avoid. Its challenge is fear. When fear grips the mind, the body freezes and movement halts. Ask yourself, am I flowing freely, or am I avoiding the current of life? Am I deepening, or am I sinking? Those born in years ending with 4 or 5 are aligned with wood. This is the element of growth, direction, ambition, and vision. Like a tree reaching for the sky, this energy wants to expand. You may have strong desires to improve, to build, to break through. But when wood is blocked, frustration grows. Anger takes root. Just as a tree that cannot grow upward begins to push against everything around it, so too can your energy feel trapped if not channeled properly. Ask yourself, is my drive fueled by clarity or agitation? Am I growing or just reacting? Birth years ending in 6 or 7 carry the fire element. Fire is passion, transformation, creativity, and joy. It shines, it inspires, it moves quickly. If this is your energy, you may love connection, intensity, and purpose. But fire also burns. It consumes. It can become restless and unstable. The challenge of fire is learning when to shine and when to rest, when to express, and when to listen. Ask yourself, am I using my energy to light the way, or am I letting it consume me? Finally, those born in years ending with 8 or 9 are linked to the earth element. This is the energy of support, compassion, nourishment, and stability. Earth holds everything. It is grounding, centering, and kind. If this is your energy, you may be a caretaker, someone others depend on. But Earth can also overthink, worry, and become stuck in comfort zones. It may seek to please others while forgetting itself. Ask yourself, am I truly grounded, or am I afraid to move? Am I giving from strength or from depletion? The shock, then, is not in the number. The shock is in the realization that all this time, you may have been living out certain patterns without seeing them clearly. That the energy of an element has been quietly guiding your choices, shaping your moods, your relationships, your inner world. And that through even the smallest point of awareness, through a single digit, you are offered the opportunity to wake up, to see yourself not as fixed or fated, but as fluid and evolving. This understanding is not meant to trap you, but to free you. Once you see the pattern, you can soften it, you can adjust it, you can choose how you respond, how you grow, how you align. This is the essence of inner cultivation. Not to become something different, but to live in harmony with what you already are. The elements are not external forces to be feared or worshipped. They are mirrors, and like all mirrors, they do not show you anything new. They only reveal what you were too distracted to notice. So do not take this teaching lightly, and do not dismiss it quickly. Let it settle in you like water soaking into dry soil. Return to it when you are confused. Reflect on it when you are stuck. Use it, not to label yourself, but to understand yourself. Because once you understand, you have power. And with that power comes responsibility. To live consciously, to move gently, and to be in balance with yourself and the world around you. What you are about to hear is not a prediction, and it is not magic. It is not a story to entertain your curiosity, but an opportunity to observe yourself more clearly. The last digit of your birth year, just a single number, may seem meaningless at first glance, but sometimes it is the simplest things that hold the deepest insights. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that everything can be a teacher. A falling leaf, a passing cloud, even a number. Not because they have power over us, but because they point to what already lives within us. They are mirrors. And if you are willing to look, they can reveal a part of your path you may have never truly noticed. In the ancient Eastern traditions, the last digit of your birth year connects to one of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These elements are not outside of you. They are not distant symbols. They are energies, movements of the body, the mind, the breath. Each one reflects a way of being, a way of seeing the world. And more importantly, each element carries both strength and challenge, both the seed of your power and the shadow of your habits. When we begin to understand which element speaks through us most clearly, we begin to understand not only how we move through life, but also what we must be cautious of, what we must cultivate, and what we must learn to release. If your element is metal, you may find yourself drawn to clarity, precision, and structure. You value discipline, and your strength lies in your ability to organize, to cut through confusion, to stay true to principle. But with that strength comes a challenge. Metal, when too rigid, cannot bend. It breaks. You may struggle to let go, to forgive, to adapt. Grief often lingers in the metal element. There may be a deep sense of loss, of holding on to the past, of trying to preserve what is already gone. Your lesson is softness, how to maintain your clarity while learning to flow, how to let go without feeling that you are giving up. If your element is water, your nature is reflective, intuitive, and deep. You feel the world in subtle ways, and your strength is your insight. You sense what others miss. You are able to be still, to observe, to understand what lies beneath the surface. But water's challenge is fear. It hesitates, it hides, it pulls back. You may resist change, avoid confrontation, or freeze when action is needed. The lesson for water is courage, to keep moving, even when the path is unclear, to trust the flow of life, even when it feels uncertain. If you resonate with the element of wood, you are likely filled with drive, count, ambition, and a vision of growth. Like a tree that stretches upward, you are always reaching, expanding, striving. Your strength is momentum. But wood also carries the challenge of frustration. When growth is blocked, you may become impatient, irritable, or angry. The energy turns inward, pressing against your chest, tightening your breath. The lesson for wood is patience. To trust in timing, to remember that not all progress is visible, and that roots must grow deep before branches can reach high. Those who carry the fire element are often radiant, passionate, expressive. You bring warmth, inspiration, and transformation. You light up a room, draw people to you, and push through darkness with your inner flame. But fire burns fast. It can be restless, impulsive, or scattered. You may leap without looking, speak before listening, act before resting. Burnout is common when fire is unchecked. Your lesson is containment. To learn when to blaze and when to simmer. To give your light in a way that nourishes rather than exhausts. And then there is earth, steady, supportive, nurturing. You are someone who brings stability, who comforts, who holds others up. You are the center when others fall apart. Your strength is your dependability, but earth can become heavy. Worry sets in. You may begin to overthink, to overcare, to give without limits until you feel drained and forgotten. Your lesson is balance. To care for others without losing yourself. To stay grounded but not stuck. To give but also to receive. In this way, each element offers a complete teaching. It shows you your natural gifts, what flows effortlessly from you. But it also shows you your blind spots, your repetitive patterns, the energy that causes imbalance when left unnoticed. And that is where the true power of self-awareness begins. You are not limited by your element, but you are shaped by it. The more you understand it, the more you can grow beyond it. You can amplify your strengths without falling into the traps of your habits. The real shock is not that a number connects you to an element. The real shock is discovering how much of your life has been lived without ever seeing the deeper pattern. How often you've repeated the same responses. How easily the strengths you rely on can turn into the very obstacles that hold you back. But awareness changes everything. When you understand your element, you are no longer pushed by unconscious tendencies. You begin to make choices, not just reactions. This is the path of inner cultivation. This is where knowledge becomes wisdom. And wisdom is not loud, it is quiet, steady, and persistent, like the breath, like the seasons, like the simple truth that even the smallest detail, like the last digit of your birth year, can be a doorway into profound understanding. If you are ready to look, shock does not come from the number. It comes from the realization. The number itself is neutral, simple, often overlooked. It is the last digit of your birth year, something you've probably written down 1,000 times without a second thought. But what if that single digit could hold up a mirror? Not a magical mirror, not a prediction or a prophecy, but a subtle reflection of patterns that have always been with you. Quietly guiding how you think, how you feel, how you move through life. The number is not the shock. The realization is. The realization that perhaps your strengths, your struggles, your emotional patterns, your reactions are not random. They repeat, they cycle. and they may carry the flavor of something ancient, something elemental, something inside you that has been whispering all along but never truly heard. This digit, when traced back through the lens of Eastern wisdom, leads to one of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, or water. These elements are not symbols to be believed in or feared. They are languages, languages of energy, of emotion, of personality. And when you hear your own language spoken clearly for the first time, you do not gain new knowledge. You wake up to what you've already known, just never put into words. That is where the shock comes. From recognizing how deeply a simple idea can resonate, how clearly a basic pattern can describe you, not just who you are on the surface, but who you've always been underneath. Maybe you've always been quick to take charge, to push forward, to dream of bigger things, and yet frustration rises when progress feels blocked. Maybe you've always been the one who comforts others, who offers a stable presence, while quietly carrying the weight of worry that nobody sees. Or maybe you felt the urge to shine, to express, to connect with energy and passion, but find yourself exhausted, burned out from always trying to keep the flame alive. Perhaps you find peace in solitude, move carefully, reflect deeply, but often freeze when it's time to act. Or maybe your world is built around order, control, clarity, and yet letting go feels like a kind of death. These are not just personality types. They are elemental tendencies. They are ways energy expresses itself through your breath, your thoughts, your relationships. And when you begin to see your life through that lens, not with superstition, but with clarity, you start to understand yourself in a new way. Not to limit yourself, not to say, "This is who I am and I cannot change," but to finally work with yourself instead of against yourself. That is where freedom begins. And that is where the shock deepens, because you start to realize much of what you thought was fate, or bad luck, or just how things are, was actually habit. Was actually your own pattern repeating itself because you never paused long enough to see it. Awareness changes everything. When you name the pattern, you loosen its grip. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to escape it. You simply observe it. And through observation, it begins to transform. The metal type can learn to soften. The water type can learn to move. The wood type can learn to root. The fire type can learn to cool. The earth type can learn to release. But all of this begins not with effort, not with force, but with realization. With the quiet, almost unsettling awareness that you are both the cause and the cure of your own imbalance. That you are not broken. You are just running an old pattern, and patterns can be rewritten. So, when we speak of the last digit of your birth year, understand that it is not a label, it is not a box, it is a doorway, and the shock is not in the door itself. The shock is in the view when you walk through it. The view of your own mind, your own heart, your own repeating rhythm. The realization that the story of your life is not written in stone. It is written in breath. It is written in choice. And that with each new moment of awareness, you can begin again. That is the real teaching. That is the real shock. Not that a number can tell you something, but that you've carried the answer within you all along. Practical wisdom begins when knowledge stops being something we collect and starts becoming something we live. And to live wisely means to live in balance, not with what the world demands of us, but with the deeper nature that quietly pulses within us. In many Eastern traditions, including Buddhist wisdom, the idea of elemental balance is not mystical or distant. It is not something only monks in the mountains contemplate. It is practical, accessible, and deeply human. The 5 elements, wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, are not just forces in the outer world. They live in you, and when one of them dominates too strongly or fades too quietly, life begins to drift out of harmony. To realign with these elements is not to believe in something new. It is to remember something ancient, something your body already knows. You don't need to change your identity to find balance. You need to become more aware of the patterns that govern you. Perhaps you have always been someone driven by growth and direction, like the wood element. You push forward, set goals, refuse to stay still. But what happens when you don't pause? When every obstacle feels like a personal insult to your progress? Without balance, ambition turns to irritation, drive becomes restlessness. Real wisdom here is not in pushing harder, it's in knowing when to step back and let things unfold. Or maybe your life burns with intensity and excitement like fire. You love connection, passion, purpose. You are the spark in the room, the warmth others gather around. But fire, when not tended, burns out. It can leave behind exhaustion, scattered focus, emotional highs followed by deep crashes. Practical wisdom is not about dimming your light. It's about learning how to manage the flame, when to shine, when to glow gently, and when to rest in the stillness of your own presence. Then there is earth, solid, nurturing, dependable. You are the one who listens, who supports, who gives, but the shadow of earth is overthinking, worry, and the tendency to lose yourself in the needs of others. You offer stability, yet forget to nourish your own roots. Real wisdom for you is remembering that being grounded does not mean being stuck, and giving does not mean forgetting to receive. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If metal speaks through you, then structure, discipline, and clarity are your strengths. You seek order, you strive for precision, but this same clarity can become sharpness toward yourself, toward others. Grief may linger longer than it should, and the past may haunt the present. Balance does not mean giving up your high standards. It means softening them, allowing space for change, letting go of what no longer serves with the grace of a falling leaf, rather than the resistance of a clenched fist. And if water flows within you, you understand depth, reflection, and silence. You are guided by intuition and feel life beneath the surface. But too much stillness can become stagnation. Fear can creep in and hold you back from movement. Balance, for you, means learning how to trust, how to act, even when the full picture isn't clear, to step into the current of life without knowing exactly where it will lead. Aligning your life with elemental balance is not about perfection. It is about presence, about noticing when your natural strength begins to tip into excess, when your gifts start to become your burdens. The body knows. The breath shortens. The thoughts speed up or shut down. The emotions repeat. These are signs not of failure, but of imbalance. And through awareness, they can become doorways back into harmony. In this way, the elements are not distant concepts. They are tools. You use them every day, whether you are aware of it or not. Every decision, every reaction, every emotion carries the imprint of an element. And when you begin to live in conscious relationship with them, life becomes less chaotic and more fluid. You begin to move not from habit, but from understanding. You begin to speak and act with intention. You begin to listen not just to others, but to yourself. This is practical wisdom, not something to read and admire, but something to apply moment by moment, to check in with yourself when you feel off center, to ask which element is taking over right now and which one is missing. Sometimes the answer is to rest, sometimes it's to act, sometimes it's to release, sometimes it's to hold steady. The path is not always straight, but it becomes clearer when you walk it with awareness. Living in balance does not mean you never fall. It means you fall with awareness and return with gentleness. You catch the imbalance before it becomes suffering, and you remember that your life is not a battle between who you are and who you should be. It is a dance between the elements already living inside you, each one with a lesson, a challenge, a gift. And each one, when honored, brings you closer to the harmony you were always meant to live. When we begin to see that even the smallest details of our lives, like the last digit of our birth year, can reflect deeper truths about who we are invited to pause, not to judge ourselves, not to label, but to understand. The elements are not meant to define you. They are reminders that life is energy, constantly moving, shifting, flowing, and you too are part of that movement. Awareness is the beginning. With it, you begin to see the root of your habits, the reason for your emotional patterns, the source of your strength and your struggle. The number may have caught your attention, but it is the insight that changes your direction. Once you begin to live in balance with your inner nature, not against it, everything becomes more clear. You respond instead of react. You grow without force. You align without effort. Wisdom, then, is not something far away. It is already within you, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be lived.